I could have had a rail warrant to get up there, but Scouse volunteered to take me in his car. That was good of him. I didn't really want to go alone. I wish I'd never accepted his offer. After about a 3-hour drive, we eventually reached the place. We drove down a long dark driveway and Scouse started to smirk. Out of the mist appeared an old building like something out of Psycho. "What the hell is this?" I said as Scouse's smirk broke into a sick giggle. In about 5 seconds flat, he'd stopped the car, jumped out, got my bag out of the boot, told me to give him a bell if I needed anything, and disappeared into a cloud of gravel and exhaust fumes. I picked up my army holdall and decided to see if Lurch was in. As I neared the large wooden doors, I peered through the windows and could see a semicircle of her backed geriatric chairs. It reminded me of the home that my mother had recently moved to. This was a mistake, and it wasn't as if I could hop on a bus. I was hundreds of miles away from Julie and the baby. I was met by the matron, who looked surprised I could still walk without the aid of a Zimmer frame. She took my medication from me and told me "So, you have post-traumatic stress disorder," she said, looking a bit mystified. A great start. It got worse when she showed me to my room. I was sharing with another man, which was bad news given my night terrors. I went downstairs for a brew and to see who else was there. It turned out I was just about the only Englishman in the place, which probably explained why the rest of the residents, most of them older than me, Scots or Northern Irish, tended to look at me like I had two heads. One of the care attendants pointed me in the direction of a lad who was around my age. He turned out to be another Falklands veteran, an ex-Scots Guard who knew my friend Wilbur from Dalton, small world. He was another PTSD sufferer. He told me how his marriage had collapsed, and he was living on his own, and generally looked about as low and depressed as I felt. The whole thing was a waste of time, he said. He'd been there a couple of days and was going home at the weekend a week early. I watched Wheel of Fortune in a TV room, had another brew, a bath, and hit the sack. I said goodnight to my roommate, a softly spoken ex-RF chap from Northern Ireland, and got my head down. I woke with a start at around 2 in the morning, and, for once, it wasn't down to a nightmare. The place was suddenly alive with the sound of loud, drunken voices, crashing and banging around, and then a stereo going on at full volume. I buried my head in my pillow, but the guys outside started banging on our door, then opening it, shouting, and then slamming it again. Complaining to them was out of the question. There were half a dozen of them. They were smashed and wouldn't have taken kindly to it. I tried to ignore them, and eventually they drifted away, after throwing up loudly and repeatedly in the toilet next to my room. Some treatment for PTSD this was. I lay awake all night, angry and depressed, and resolved to leave as soon as possible. Julie arranged for a lift, so after a bowl of porridge, I walked down the lane to the river at the bottom and took in the fresh air. The countryside was beautiful, but I lived near beautiful countryside in the Lake District, and this place was making me more stressed and paranoid than I had been before. I escaped around lunchtime, when a mate of mine drove all the way from Barrow to get me. Later I wrote to the charity explaining why I had left. They wrote back, expressing their regret and offering me a further 2 weeks there, which suggested they had somewhat missed the point. I am sure it worked for others, but it was only going to make me worse. Allowing ex-servicemen with PTSD to get drunk was not the best of ideas. I may as well have stayed in the army. If you are enjoying this, please consider subscribing and check out A.A. McNally's book Still Watching Men Burn, Fighting the PTSD War.